Every great story begins with a risk. Every legend, every dream, every breakthrough was born out of someone's decision to step into the unknown. The truth is simple but powerful: no risk, no story. If you think about it, the world doesn't remember those who played it safe. History remembers the risk takers, the ones who dared to walk a different path, who stood up when everyone else sat down, who believed when no one else did. Without risk, life becomes predictable, routine, and empty. But with risk, life becomes an adventure, a story worth telling. The greatest moments in your life will never come from comfort zones. They come from those times when your heart was racing, your hands were trembling, and you had no idea if you'd succeed or fail. But you did it anyway. That's courage. That's life. That's growth. We live in a world that teaches us to avoid risk. We're told to be careful, to stay safe, to follow the plan. But the truth is, safety doesn't create success. Safety creates regret. The people who achieve greatness are the ones who look fear in the eye and say, "I'm doing it anyway." Think about the inventors who changed the world. Think about the artists who painted beyond the lines. Think about the dreamers who built empires from nothing. Every single one of them had a moment when they had to take a risk, when they had to leap without knowing where they'd land. Risk is not the enemy, fear is. And fear feeds on hesitation. The longer you wait, the louder your doubts become. But once you take that step, once you decide to act, fear loses its power. There's a story inside you waiting to be written. A story that can inspire others, move hearts, and change lives. But that story will remain unwritten until you take a risk, until you face failure, until you embrace the uncertainty. Because every great story has conflict, every hero faces a challenge, and every victory is born from risk. Ask yourself, what's the story you want to tell someday? Do you want to say, "I played it safe, I stayed comfortable, I never tried"? Or do you want to say, "I gave it everything I had, I took chances, I fell, I failed, but I kept going"? Because that's the story that matters. That's the story that inspires. When you take a risk, you give your life meaning, you discover your strength. You learn who you are when everything's on the line. You learn that fear can't stop you, that failure can't define you, and that faith will carry you through. Don't wait for the perfect time. There isn't one. Don't wait for permission. Give it to yourself. Don't wait for guarantees. Take the leap. Because the greatest opportunities are hidden behind the risks you're too afraid to take. Remember this: you don't grow when you win. You grow when you try. You grow when you fail. You grow when you take risks that challenge everything you think you know about yourself. So, take the risk. Start the business. Chase the dream. Speak your truth. Move to that city. Begin again. Because every time you take a risk, you're not just building a life. You're writing your story. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the risks you took made you who you are. That every mistake, every fear, every leap was worth it. Because those risks created the story of your life. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. It's the soft bed that lulls us into a quiet sleep, the safe routine that makes us feel secure, the predictable rhythm of life that never challenges us. But deep down, we all know, comfort is the silent killer of dreams. It's the place where potential goes to rest, where ambitions slowly fade, and where greatness never sees the light of day. Growth doesn't happen in safety. Growth begins beyond comfort. Every person who has ever achieved something remarkable in this world had to step into discomfort. They had to face the uncertainty, the fear, the doubt, and the pain that comes with change. Because growth is not about doing what's easy. It's about doing what's necessary. It's about becoming someone you've never been before. And that means walking paths you've never walked. When you choose to stay in your comfort zone, you choose the illusion of safety over the possibility of greatness. You convince yourself that things are fine as they are, that it's better not to risk failure, not to take chances, not to dream too big. But inside, your soul knows it's meant for more. Inside, a voice whispers that you were not created to just exist. You were created to evolve, to expand, to experience everything life has to offer. The truth is, growth hurts. It's uncomfortable. It's messy. It demands sacrifice. It asks you to let go of what's familiar. People, habits, mindsets, and fears, and step into what's unknown. And that's what scares most people. We cling to what we know because it feels safe, even if it keeps us small. But the moment you decide to break that pattern, everything changes. The moment you say, "I'm done settling," you begin to transform. Think about the butterfly. Before it spreads its wings, it must first struggle in the cocoon. That struggle is not punishment, it's preparation. Without the resistance, it would never gain the strength to fly. And just like that butterfly, every challenge you face, every uncomfortable situation you endure is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for something greater. You see, life will always test you before it blesses you. It will stretch you before it elevates you. You'll face setbacks, failures, heartbreaks, and moments of doubt. But every time you choose to push through, instead of giving up, you grow. You learn, you rise. The person who emerges on the other side of pain is not the same person who entered it. They're stronger, wiser, and braver. Comfort teaches you nothing. Discomfort teaches you everything. When you step into discomfort, you learn resilience. You learn patience. You learn humility. You learn how to fight for your dreams, even when no one believes in you. You learn that failure is not the end, it's a teacher. You learn that fear is not your enemy. It's a compass pointing you toward growth. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most. It wasn't when everything was easy. It was when you were struggling. When you lost something, when you took a risk, when you had to rebuild. It was when life forced you to stretch beyond what you thought you could handle. That's where growth happens. That's where transformation begins. Every mountain you climb begins with a decision to take the first step. Every dream you chase begins with the courage to begin. And yes, that first step will always be uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. But what's unfamiliar today becomes your strength tomorrow. What feels terrifying now becomes your story later. The discomfort you avoid today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. The most successful people in the world are not the most talented. They are the most courageous. They're the ones who dared to take the leap even when fear screamed, "Don't." They're the ones who failed but refused to stop. They understood that comfort is temporary, but growth is eternal. You will never find purpose sitting in the shadows of what's easy. Purpose lives in the light of challenge. And challenge demands discomfort. Every time you say yes to a new challenge, every time you push yourself to do something you've never done, you are telling the universe, "I'm ready for more." And life responds by opening new doors, new opportunities, new levels of you. Sometimes growth requires losing things you thought you couldn't live without. Sometimes it means walking away from people, places, or situations that no longer serve your purpose. It's painful. But that's the price of evolution. You cannot step into your future while clinging to your past. You cannot become who you're meant to be while holding on to who you were. The most powerful growth often happens in silence, in struggle, in solitude. When the world doubts you, when no one is watching, when you feel like giving up, that's where you grow the most. Because in those moments, you learn that your strength doesn't come from others. It comes from within. It comes from your persistence, your faith, your refusal to quit. You are stronger than you think. You've survived things you never thought you would. You've endured storms that could have broken you, but you're still standing. That's proof of your resilience. That's evidence of your growth. And if you've come this far, imagine how much further you can go if you just keep stepping beyond your comfort zone. Growth begins with one decision, the decision to try. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know the outcome. You just have to take that first uncomfortable step. Whether it's starting that business, pursuing that dream, ending that toxic relationship, or believing in yourself again. Take the step, because the pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. Every time you feel uncomfortable, remember, that's the feeling of transformation. That's the feeling of becoming someone new. So instead of running from discomfort, lean into it, embrace it, thank it. Because discomfort means you're alive, you're changing, you're moving forward. The day you stop challenging yourself is the day you stop living fully. You may still exist, but you'll no longer grow. And without growth, there is no meaning. Life's greatest fulfillment comes from progress, from knowing that you are not the same person you were yesterday. So, take the risk. Step into the unknown. Push past your limits. The road beyond comfort is never easy, but it's where the magic happens. It's where you find your purpose, your power, and your true self one day. You'll look back on this moment, the fear, the uncertainty, the struggle, and you'll be grateful. Because this is where you grew. This is where you became who you were meant to be. Don't settle for comfort when greatness is waiting. Don't choose easy when your destiny requires effort. Every seed must break before it grows. Every diamond is formed under pressure. Every hero is born in challenge. So keep going. Keep stretching. Keep growing. Even when it hurts. Even when it's hard. Because growth begins beyond comfort. And that's where your best life lies. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions we experience as human beings. It can stop us in our tracks, make us doubt ourselves, and convince us to stay exactly where we are. But here's the truth: fear is temporary, while regret lasts a lifetime. The moments you let fear win might fade quickly, but the regret of never trying, never speaking up, never taking that leap, that lingers forever. And that's the weight too many people carry on their shoulders for the rest of their lives. Every dream you've ever had, every goal that burns quietly in your heart, has a shadow standing in front of it. That shadow is fear. It whispers, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if people laugh at you? It tries to convince you that safety is better than possibility. But safety never changes lives. Safety never builds empires. Safety never tells stories worth remembering. Fear was never meant to be a wall. It's meant to be a test. It's life's way of asking, how much do you really want this? Everyone feels fear. The difference is what you do with it. Some people let it paralyze them, while others use it as fuel to push forward. The ones who succeed are not fearless. They're simply brave enough to move forward despite the fear. Think about the people you admire the most: leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, or heroes. None of them got where they are without feeling fear. The difference is they didn't let it control them. They understood that fear might scream in your ears, but it can't hold the pen that writes your destiny unless you hand it over. The truth is, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move through it. When you allow fear to make your choices, you live half a life. You play it safe, avoid risks, and stay in your comfort zone. But comfort zones are prisons built by fear. They're invisible walls that keep you from experiencing the fullness of who you can become. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you trade a piece of your potential for a moment of ease. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the things you feared weren't nearly as powerful as the dreams you abandoned because of them. Regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from not trying. It comes from wondering, what if, when it's too late to find out? People who fail but tried sleep with peace. People who never tried sleep with pain. Failure fades, lessons remain, but regret echoes forever. You can heal from disappointment, but you can't escape the emptiness of never knowing what could have been. Fear wants you to believe that taking a chance is dangerous. But the real danger is standing still, because when you stand still, the world moves without you. Time keeps passing, opportunities slip away, and slowly, that spark inside you begins to fade. You were not born to live a life of hesitation. You were born to take chances, to chase purpose, to create meaning through movement. When you look at your life years from now, you won't remember the nights you played it safe. You won't remember the opportunities you avoided or the chances didn't take. You'll remember the moments you were brave. You'll remember when you said yes despite the fear, when you took that risk, when you failed but kept going anyway. Those are the moments that shape you. Those are the memories that give your life meaning. Fear says, stay safe. Regret whispers, you could have been more. Every time you feel fear, remember that it's temporary. The fear you feel before a big decision, before stepping on stage, before taking that first step, it fades. But the regret of never doing it will follow you quietly for the rest of your days. So the next time fear tries to stop you, ask yourself which pain you'd rather live with, the pain of growth or the pain of regret. There will never be a perfect moment to start. The stars won't align, and the fear won't disappear. You'll never wake up one day suddenly ready for everything you want to do. You become ready by doing it afraid. You gain confidence not by waiting for fear to leave, but by acting in spite of it. The most successful people are those who mastered the art of walking with fear. They don't wait to feel fearless. They move forward while their hearts are racing and their minds are filled with doubt, because they know that fear fades, but the results of action last forever. It's easy to let fear disguise itself as logic. It tells you to wait for the right time, to gather more experience, to make sure everything is perfect first. But behind all those excuses is fear pretending to be wisdom. The truth is, there's no such thing as the right time. There's only right now. Every great journey begins when you decide that your dreams are worth more than your doubts. If you think about it, the greatest risks often lead to the greatest rewards. Every invention, every innovation, every masterpiece came from someone who was willing to fail publicly. They faced the same fear you do, but they also knew that playing it safe guarantees nothing. You can fail at what you don't want, so why not take a chance on what you do want? Life is too short to settle for almost. Fear doesn't disappear with age, experience, or success. It just changes shape. But if you keep facing it, something magical happens. You start to build resilience. You start realizing that fear is just a sign that you're on the right path. because anything that matters will scare you a little. It means you're growing, stretching, becoming more than you were yesterday. Think of fear as a companion rather than an enemy. Let it remind you that you're alive, that you're moving towards something that matters. Every time you feel fear, say to yourself, this is the feeling of becoming stronger. Because once you face it, fear loses its control. Once you take action, fear dissolves. Regret, on the other hand, grows stronger with time. It sits quietly in the back of your mind, whispering reminders of what could have been. You can't escape it by ignoring it, and you can't heal it by wishing. The only cure for regret is action. Now, today, the things you keep putting off will eventually become the stories you wish you had written. Imagine being at the end of your life and looking back. Would you rather see a list of safe choices or a collection of bold decisions? Would you rather say, I stayed comfortable, or I lived fully? Every single person has to answer that question someday. And the answer depends on what you do with your fear today. Fear is just a moment. Regret is a lifetime. So even if it feels scary, even if you're uncertain, take the step. Apply for the job. Start the project. Tell the person you love them. Move to that city. Begin again. Do it afraid, because that's how every meaningful story begins. Every success story has a chapter filled with fear. Moments where quitting seemed easier, moments of doubt and failure. But those moments make the ending worth reading. You can't skip the fear and expect a fulfilling story. You have to walk through it. When you fail, you learn. When you try, you grow. When you take risks, you discover strength you didn't know you had. But when you run from fear, you run from growth. You don't protect yourself by avoiding pain. You simply deny yourself the joy of becoming more. Fear might visit you every day, but it doesn't have to stay. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can be uncertain and still make progress. The key is to act, because once you act, you start to see results. And once you see results, fear loses its voice. The life you dream of is waiting on the other side of fear. It's not waiting for you to become fearless. It's waiting for you to become brave. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you build a story worth telling. Every time you face fear and do it anyway, you create a memory that will outlast your doubts. So remember this: fear will fade, the nerves will calm, the moment will pass, but the regret of not doing it will last forever. Don't let fear steal the best parts of your story. Don't let it decide what kind of life you live, because when fear ends, and it always does, you'll still have to face yourself. And when that day comes, may you smile knowing you tried. May you be proud of the chances you took, the dreams you chased, and the times you failed but kept going. Because at the end of it all, fear is temporary, but regret is forever. Every person walking this earth carries a story inside them. A story of dreams, struggles, failures, and triumphs. But not every story gets told, because not everyone has the courage to live it. Many people die with their stories unwritten, their dreams unfulfilled, and their potential untouched. Not because they lacked talent, not because they didn't have opportunities, but because they lacked one thing: courage. Courage is the pen that writes the story of your life. It is what turns ordinary people into legends. It is what separates those who dream from those who do. Courage doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you act in spite of fear. It means you look at uncertainty, you look at risk, and you say, I'm doing it anyway. The truth is, every great story begins with a moment of bravery, a decision, a choice to go after something that seems impossible. When you study the lives of great men and women, The inventors, the artists, the leaders, the dreamers, you'll find one thing in common. They dared to step forward when everything inside them screamed to step back. Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet whisper inside your heart saying, "Try again." It's the strength to stand up when you've been knocked down 100 times. It's believing in yourself when nobody else does. It's walking alone when no one is willing to walk beside you. That's courage, and that's what creates a story worth telling. Think about it. What kind of story are you writing right now? Is it one of fear, hesitation, and comfort? Or is it one of faith, risk, and determination? Because every day you make choices that shape the pages of your story. The decisions you avoid out of fear become blank pages, empty, wasted moments. But the decisions you make with courage become powerful chapters filled with meaning and purpose. Life is not meant to be lived in safety. It's meant to be lived boldly. Playing it safe might protect you from failure, but it also protects you from success. It shields you from pain, but it also shields you from growth. If you never take risks, you'll never know how far you can go. You'll never know the strength you carry within you. Courage is the force that turns nothing into something. It's what transforms "I can't" to "I did." Without it, dreams stay as dreams. But with it, dreams become reality. Every time you choose courage over fear, you give yourself permission to evolve. You allow your soul to expand. You give your life color and depth. People often ask, "What if I fail?" But what if you succeed? What if that one risk changes everything? What if that leap of faith opens a door to a life you never imagined possible? Failure is not the end. It's just another part of your story. Every great story has struggle. Every hero faces defeat before victory. Without conflict, there is no growth. Without challenge, there is no transformation. The truth is, your failures will one day become the most powerful parts of your story. The parts that inspire others. The moments you thought would break you will become the moments that define you. Because courage doesn't protect you from pain, it gives meaning to it. When you look back on your life, the moments you'll cherish most won't be the easy ones. They'll be the ones where you dared to risk everything. The times when your heart was pounding, when your voice was shaking, but you stood up and said, "I'm doing this." That's when your story truly begins. Courage is also about authenticity. It takes courage to be yourself in a world that constantly tells you who to be. It takes courage to say no when everyone expects you to say yes. It takes courage to walk away from what doesn't serve your soul. The greatest freedom you'll ever experience is the freedom to live your truth. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely. Many people wait for the right time to start, the right moment to be brave. But the truth is, courage doesn't wait for perfect timing. Courage creates the right time. You'll never feel 100% ready, and you'll never have all the answers. Sometimes you just have to take that first step in faith and trust that the ground will appear beneath your feet. Your story isn't written by luck. It's written by the choices you make when life gets hard. When fear whispers, "You can't," courage answers, "Watch me." That's the dialogue of a champion. That's the mindset of someone destined for greatness. Courage doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. Every time you face your fear, you evolve. Every time you take a step forward, despite the doubt, you strengthen your soul. That's why the most powerful people aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who keep rising, no matter how many times they've fallen. You were not born to live a small story. You were not created to just survive, to go through the motions, to blend in. You were created to stand out, to live boldly, to love deeply, to fail spectacularly, and to rise triumphantly. That's what makes a life beautiful. That's what makes it real. So, if you're facing fear right now, if you're standing at the edge of something uncertain, remember this: courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else matters more. Your dream matters more. Your purpose matters more. Your story matters more. One day, someone will look at you and say, because you were brave, I didn't give up. That's the power of courage. It doesn't just shape your life. It shapes others. It spreads light in a world that desperately needs it. Every act of courage creates a ripple that reaches farther than you can see. So don't hide your story. Don't let fear write your ending. You have the power to rewrite your life at any moment. You can choose courage today, right now. You can decide that your story will be one of strength, resilience, and faith. Start that dream project. Speak your truth. Forgive someone. Take that chance. Believe in yourself even when you feel broken. Each of these moments is a stroke of the pen that writes your story. And when you choose courage, the pages come alive. Years from now, when you look back, you won't remember the times you stayed safe. You'll remember the times you were brave. You'll remember how you kept going when everything seemed lost. You'll remember how you took a risk and it changed your life. Those are the stories worth telling. And if you ever doubt yourself, just remember you don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the next step, because courage builds momentum. One step leads to another, and before you know it, you're walking through doors you never thought you'd open. Life will test you. It will push you, break you, and challenge you. But through it all, courage will be your greatest weapon. Courage will remind you who you are, that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you are unstoppable. You are the author of your story. The pen is in your hand. And every time you act with courage, you're writing something that will outlive you. A legacy of strength, of resilience, of truth. So don't let fear write your story. Don't let doubt decide your destiny. Choose courage. Choose faith. Choose to live a story that makes your heart proud. Because in the end, it won't matter how safe you played it. It will matter how bravely you lived. It will matter how many times you rose after falling. It will matter how fearlessly you chased what set your soul on fire. Your story is written through courage, and the world is waiting to hear it.